not that familiar with him. John Avlon of CNN has some interesting things to say about people that are refusing vaccines. Okay, so let's listen to him and see what he has to say real quick.
Good news is that over 237 million vaccine doses have been given out in America. The bad news is that there's no cure for stupid, which is another way of saying that over a quarter of Americans have decided not to get a shot. And what's worse is...
Okay, so let's start there, right? This man just called a significant portion of the population fucking stupid. Okay? That was like right out the gate. And this is how these guys feel about you. This is the corporate press, which is, whatever. I call them stupid too. So, no love lost there. But right out the gate, we're just for the sake of setting the context here. John Avlon thinks you're fucking stupid in the event that you refuse to take this experimental vaccine. And this is, again, an interesting notion, because what it does is it rests upon like you yourself aren't thinking critically about this instance, which most people, I don't want to say most, but I like to think like guys like myself who aren't going to get the vaccine have thought very critically about this and don't think that it's worth, for example, in my case, I'll speak for myself here, assuming that risk that may be associated with long-term impacts of that. Because something like vaccines, we just knowing the history of vaccine, the failures of certain instances, including even other coronaviruses, when they've tried to, for example, find vaccines for them, they haven't always ended up in let's say, net gains. And this has not gone through the rigorous testing, no random control trials that have extended for extended periods of time. I know what they're saying that it is, but considering that this virus, for the most part, people in my health demographic are not going to ever be hospitalized and not going to ever have to, let's say, they're certainly not going to die for the most part of it. People like myself have no issue assuming this risk and don't think that it's worth injecting something like that. That's critically thinking about the situation. But weirdos such as Avlon thinks that you're stupid. And the stupidity is based solely on the idea that you don't, or you rather are refusing to get the vaccine, which again, it's hilarious to conflate that sort of concept. Let's at least give him a chance, because maybe he'll follow up with some sort of evidence that supports his position here.
That most of these folks are much more willing to return to regular activity. Yep, they're refusing to get vaccines, but can't wait to mingle in close crowds. On the one hand, the people...
All right, so again, no shit. That's not like a groundbreaking thing, but it's the false dichotomy of one or the other that they have generally set up. They say, well, you cannot want to get back to doing some things that you have generally understood as to be normal. You can't do that while also refusing to get the vaccine. I say, says who? Says who? You? We were assuming those types of risks before, prior to COVID-19. John Avlon, did you just forget that? Did you just forget that there were other viruses, coronaviruses included, that don't even have vaccines? That any event that you pass it to the wrong person that has maybe some issues and has a severe reaction, they could potentially die. That risk was assumed long before 2020. John, did you not understand that? And we mingled with each other despite covering our faces with diapers or being forced to get certain jabs before we got out there and did that. This is a new phenomena, and you need to stop. If you guys are watching this, you are under no requirement to operate under their sort of warped idea of reality, which isn't based on reality in any regard. Keep in mind what we're doing right now, and the response to this virus is a new phenomena. We've never done anything like this over the course of human history. We haven't. Where you get definitely something like with a over 99% survival rate, where you're talking about acting as if, okay, well, you can't even go outside with other people without getting a jab. We don't operate like that with anything else. We have never done that. Let's continue on.
Well, they're most likely to hurt it themselves. So you might say if they want to compete for the Darwin Awards, that's up to them. But we're trying to stamp out a pandemic.
Darwin Awards. It's funny how he doesn't assume that people getting experimental jabs aren't the ones that are participating in the Darwin Awards.
Here. One that's killed more than 575,000 Americans. And it's not.
Yeah, believe it or not, guys, just because John didn't bring it up, people die. Reality is that none of us are actually getting on the other side of this alive. And every now and then over history, you get some things that will pass around and end up killing some people that are from a viral standpoint until they start to build up this immunity to it. This has happened also over the course of human history. None of us are making it out alive. And I know that they get to blend 2 or 3 flu seasons with each other and add all the combined deaths, which they, again, don't do that for influenza. Could you imagine them taking multiple years of influenza and just putting it on a ticker and saying this amount of people that died from this? You'd be freaking out. You would be, because the number is fairly high. Or they took something like tuberculosis, which has killed literally millions of people, not necessarily in America, but certainly in pockets of Asia and whatnot. But here we are. That's always funny. It's always funny that they love to throw these deaths out here all the time. It's like, well, people died. People die all the time, man. Like, y'all do understand that people die. That isn't to say that if your loved one or someone passed, that isn't to say that people aren't going to feel bad about it. Yeah. Last time I cried, the first time in probably since I was a child, last time I cried was when my grandmother died. Sucks. That doesn't mean that, we have to say don't live. Look at all these people that died. You shouldn't live. Like, what?
Not over yet. So their denial will have real costs for the rest of us, beyond the predictable Ted Nugent trajectory of denial and diagnosis.
It's funny, wouldn't the vaccine stop that from you? Stop you from that? It's funny how they discuss that, if the vaccine is as effective as what you claim that it is, what does it even matter to you? If you get the jab, you're supposed to be good. The only people that will be going out and assuming the risk would be us that are assuming the risk if it works in the way that you claim that it does. So what are you talking about?
Now, it might not surprise you to learn these folks are far from confident in the government health officials and far less
we have every bit of reason to be skeptical of them.
Likely to have a college degree.
That right there, guy. Again, these guys, we literally just hit the minute mark, and this guy has put in so many, not only just fallacies though, from what it is that he's saying, he's presented a bunch of them. But it's not just that. What he does is he says and basically validates some of the positions that I have pertaining to public education, academia in this country, where they tie that shit to sense. Why do you think that those bodies, particularly in academia, are the most protective of the state? Specifically leftist authoritarianism. They're less likely to have a degree. That's not a he probably thinks he's shitting on them. I think you actually, in my opinion, you're giving them props. You are saying that people seem to be that didn't go through the public indoctrination camp are more likely to, at minimum, be skeptical of some stuff that just got rolled out, again, largely, almost exclusively facilitated by way of the government.
Anti-science impulse breaks down along.
Yeah, anti-science, right? If you don't want to take the experimental jab, you are being anti-science. I mean, that you gotta love those false dichotomies.
Along partisan lines as well, with 44% of Republicans saying they're not going to get the vaccine. That's compared to 28% of independents and just 8% of Democrats.
So obviously, the lowest percentage of people that trust the authoritarian left, and it's sort of experts. And when it comes to this vaccine, at least, obviously most Democrats, like, so is what, only 8%. So that means that if you, I guess if depending on how they worded that question when whoever they polled, but because I wouldn't obviously poll for this, but whoever they polled, of the people that they polled, 92% of them are at least willing or not unwilling to get the vaccine. Let's say that. Whereas to that, obviously that percentage rises depending on if they're more detached from the Democratic Party.
Politics, pandemics don't care about partisan politics, people, but I've got to say that opposing mask mandates and refusing to get a vaccine is a special kind of self-defeating stupid.
All right, John all right, see, I was trying to reserve my rights, but the more he talks about it, the more guys wonder why I'm so rough around the edges and why I have to handle elitist dickheads like John Avlon in the way that I do. It's because this is how I like that he's being upfront and he's being open with how he absolutely feels about people that don't seem to think about this in the way that he does. John Avlon, as I like to say a lot, can go fuck himself 77 different ways as far as I'm concerned. But this whole ass, this motherfucker here would love to present his, with his numbers and stuff, with this idea again. Just present a false dichotomy. This is how these guys operate. It's like one or the other. And in the event that you take the other position, which is those are the only positions that can possibly exist, by the way, you are somehow a lesser person than him, right? Because you just simply won't do what he says you must do in the event that, again, what's presented to be true is the false dichotomy. So you can't be anti-mask mandate as well as not getting a vaccine because reasons. And that's basically what it is, because reasons. I'm like, who the fuck said? I'm not getting a vaccine, number one. Doesn't mean like I'm anti-vax, but I'm not getting a vaccine, and I'm certainly against fucking mask mandates. It's a very easy position to have. It's only not easy when you're John Avlon and you think that there can only be these two fucking positions that are presented, and you have to fall in sort of one of these lines. And of course, him and his ilk fall in the correct lines. They are the uber smart people. And when it comes to this equation, you, on the other hand, as the peasant, you're stupid.
So where are people getting this stuff? We know the anti-vaxxer conspiracy theories have been proliferating online, but it doesn't.
Everybody that doesn't want to get a vaccine is an anti-vax conspiracy theorist, man. And then I don't know how many false dichotomies that, as well as you can call them straw mans, that has been presented by this guy. But holy cow!
Doesn't help it when people with major platforms feed that beast, like Spotify's $100 million man, Joe Rogan. He played footsie.
And it's like, and it's funny because Joe Rogan didn't say anything that was anti-vax. They think anybody not fucking lining up to get this fucking jab is anti-vax. Do you see what I'm saying here, bros? For you guys that are so pro-vax to the, like, you got, these are your ambassadors, number one. But again, that's a false dichotomy. Just because someone says in a statement, because he did say that he was pro-vaccine, if you actually listen to what Joe Rogan said, he just specifically referred to healthy, eat well, 21 years of age. He says you probably shouldn't get it, and he's right, because you don't fucking need it. It is statistically insignificant in terms of your likelihood to be hospitalized, as well as your likelihood to die from it and being in that age and health demographic. That's not my opinion. That's what the experts' numbers say.
With anti-vax impulses by saying that healthy young people shouldn't get the vaccine, despite the fact that more young people are being hospitalized with these new variants. Now, goddamn, this guy is so disingenuous. The people that are being hospitalized are in the age and health demographic that he's in, that he's specifically talking about. Of course, this may be a different sort of instance when you're talking about folks that are 21 years of age and they're 375 goddamn pounds despite being 5'5". Like, that's not who he was mentioning. He specifically mentioned people that were healthy, that were young, and they exercised and did all of that. Those aren't the people that are generally being hospitalized. And he knows that. He has to know that. This is what disingenuous people do. Fucking pussy. Yesterday, Rogan attempted some cleanup with the "don't listen to me, I'm just an entertainer" defense.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a respected source of information, even for me.
That sounded a lot like Fox News lawyers who convinced a judge that Tucker Carlson's audience doesn't actually expect to hear facts from him. Here's the thing. You're responsible for what you say when the microphone's on. And the more people who refuse to get the vaccine, the more likely it is we won't be able to get the virus completely under control.
First of all, it's been under control. It's just that it's not to where like you don't get to control other people as it pertains to the virus. That's what this more so is about. This whole we get it under control, that's a completely arbitrary thing that he's saying, or rather the metric, which is why, despite being asked, their lead expert, Fauci, has been asked numerous times. Even remember when Jim Jordan was, he acted like he was hard of hearing. When Jim Jordan was asking him, what exactly are we looking for? And he couldn't answer because he doesn't know. He just says, when it's under control. What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean?
Yes, we've made real progress. Many places are getting back to something resembling normal, precisely because the vaccines are working.
No, it's just because, that is horse shit. It's just because certain areas that are around, have had, let's say, these restrictions, those certain areas are lifting those restrictions. Those are the only things. They act like the vaccine is so. This is why I hate it when people would say that the virus was doing this. The virus wasn't doing anything. But, yeah, it may make some people sick. But as far as stopping people from getting out, the virus wasn't doing that. The government was doing that. The state was doing that. They were the ones that were doing that. And this is, again, false dichotomies. They continue to present those and say, well, it's either this or the other thing, right? You have to take the vax if you want to get, let's say, back to some sort of normalcy or go outside without a mask on. No, we could do that right now. We could have did that 10 months ago. We just didn't because, dickheads like yourself and control freaks who panicked.
But we're not out of the woods yet. And declaring mission accomplished before the job is done is a recipe for disaster.
And much like Fauci, what exactly the metric is, he does not give it.
Horror show in India right now. In January, Prime Minister Modi declared victory over COVID and persisted with large political rallies. Now that country is in crisis with mutant variants ravaging the countries. One model predicting close to 1 million deaths by August. So don't get complacent. Listen to science, not superstition.
Again, hey guys, if you just say, quote, science, then you are absolved of any sort of criticism. And everything that they say is correct.
You want life to return to normal? Do your part and get a vaccine.
All right, John Avalon, let me just end it on this note. Go fuck yourself. And no, me getting back to normal, it does not rest upon, it is not predicated on me getting a jab. I'm going to do whatever the fuck it is that I want to do. For example, right now, what I can realistically do in my capacity, I'm doing that right now. I have not been vaccinated and I'm not going to get vaccinated. I'm in a health demographic that I feel as if, hell, it is what it is. I'll take the risk, as I was assuming long before this was a thing. And I will say this, because there are those weirdos who will look at this video and look at what it is that I'm saying, and they think, well, you must not know people that have gotten sick from it or something. No, I have. I absolutely have gotten. I know plenty of people that have got sick, one of which is my closest friend. And I want to make this abundantly clear. Even if I was one of the outliers that ended up getting this virus and getting severely sick, it changes absolutely nothing to what it is that I've said. Nothing. Because that was a risk that needs to be assumed. I've been hospitalized from sicknesses before. You know what I'm saying? It's still a risk that if I wanted to sit up here and live in it, which is a lot of what you guys want to do, and that's your right, living in a bubble for the rest of your life, scared to death in the event that anybody is around you, just automatically assuming that every single person is sick. Which is basically, y'all do understand, that's the policies that we've been adopting as it pertains to this virus. It's that everybody is sick before proven healthy. That's basically what this is. So that's why that's the whole point of the mask thing and everything. Everybody's sick. So you have to automatically assume, no matter, and that asymptomatic, all that means is that you're healthy. It's sick before proven healthy. That's it. Which I guess you can argue that you already are proven healthy. Because, yeah, you may not have any symptoms. But, hey, you may be sick because of reasons. What they consider sick is just anybody that can potentially, possibly, may have the virus and be able to spread this virus. But I had to show y'all that because now you see, yet again, just a prime example of how these guys feel about you. You're stupid in the event that you don't want to do everything it is that they say that you need to do.